Hi, this is Natu, a guy who's way too old and way too long involved in this game, and you're watching Thorin's YouTube channel.
Right, I'm here for another episode of Talk to Thorin, and my guest for this one is going to be nawwk, who is an Awper for Team Apeks. Obviously, people will have seen you at the major. Right, the first place I want to actually start, nawwk, is in the early days, you played for a bunch of the teams, which is funny because in the modern day, there's not really an analogy for this anymore. But back in the day in Swedish Counter-Strike, there was always like 2 or 3 orgs where it's like everyone goes to that team to then go to the next one. So 1.6, it was teams like Big Grip and H2K. These were the classic ones. I noticed in your era, you were in a bunch of the teams like Existence, Galaxy, and the Game Elite. These are the squads that were like the ones, it was in the same pay group as Red Reserve, etc. These are the teams that, to me, you go to back in the day when we had the Swedish scene. That's the team you go to prove yourself to get into NIP, to get into Fnatic. These are like the classic moves, SK Gaming back in the day, right? When you were on the Existence Galaxy team, my question to you is this: if you're on a team like that, do you already think of yourself as pro? Do you think like I'm actually at the top already, like I'm mixing up with the top teams?
I wouldn't really say that. I would say I was on the way in a way. Before I was just playing a lot of pucks. We had like this Swedish Pro League, right? Just showing my way. I also had like a kind of a mixed team in the beginning, and that was from that Barbar messaged me and picked me up. And to be honest, in that team we were just like 5 really good friends who played in the end. Like we had, like, remember that time we had so much fun playing, like it was different from the way it is now. It's way more serious, which is kind of hard to compare. But I wouldn't say I was like, see myself as a full professional. I would say like a semi-professional, to be honest, because we did have some good results. Like we qualified for DreamHack Winter 2018, I think.
Yeah.
And we got to the semis, which was pretty cool. And I guess after that, I got some eyes on me, which would be like, okay, maybe I'm on the right path now. So.
What about in this team you played? And as you mentioned, the in-game leader was Barbar, who's actually like a veteran player. If people don't know now, he actually works in Valorant as like a coach. He was in that Guild esports team that was pretty good as far as I know. So who was this guy to work with? Because I know in CSGO he didn't have as big a career. He sort of came along later and was more sort of in the lower end of the scene. So what was it like to work with him as an in-game leader?
Bar was like a really good father figure, I guess. I was pretty young going into that team, so he was taking care of all of us. So it was the first team for all of us, especially like me and Plopsky. We were kind of the stars in that team, and he took really good care of us. So learned us the like basics of esports, I would say, how it was, how to like be as a player, and your responsibilities, and how to be better as a person and as a player. And I only have good memories from Babar. He could be a bit strict back in the day, but I think that was good for 5 younglings or 4 younglings. Must be a bit annoying for him at times, but
Sure.
Only good stuff to say about him, to be honest.
How would you explain Plopsky? Because obviously he was your teammate in NIP later. Because I think the thing that confuses people, nawwk, is in a lot of the NIP lineups, it looked as though he often got like pushed off into sort of like supportive roles or something. But when I first came on the scene, I was told by like insiders, like he's supposed to be like the next star and he's actually going to like replace Get Right and Forest. He's got like mad aim or something. So who is this guy?
Plopsky was just like, first of all, he was an amazing teammate, amazing player, amazing person, like 10 out of 10 out of everything. He was just like a great friend of me, still is. But he was like more of this like aggressive player. He was kind of an entry, like a star player role in a way. He then, like you said, got pushed back into supportive roles, but he was just like his aim was so good. He was kind of compared to like Nico in a way, I would say. Like he could do anything. He was, like to watch him in the later stages of NIP, and like from the way he was when I played with him was kind of sad in a way, because the way he played and the way his mechanics was amazing, to be honest. He was the next superstar of Sweden, and what usually happens with NIP, I can say that every upcoming Swede that goes to NIP always becomes worse in a way. I kind of have to say, same with me in a way. Yeah.
I mean, look, well, we obviously will talk about your time in NIP, but just to expand on what you just said there, I mean, do you have a sense for why it is? Like, I know back in the really old days, where it was the original NIP in CSGO, that like there was a similar concept, but it was more back then that it was always just that fifth player used to change, if you remember. They kept like the original four for Flower went and they just cycled the fifth player. And so essentially, as far as I can tell, if you've got four people who stay, they've all had the success, they're probably not going to give you your role or build the team around it. Was there something like that, do you think, as to why like newer players came through? Because you're right, whereas in teams like Fnatic, they sometimes did bring through the talents. It did look in NIP like these people were very promising before they joined, and then suddenly they just never sort of made it, right? Do you have a sense for what it might be?
I think I do, to be honest. I can speak for myself. It was definitely like the management in NIP, the way they handle things. I can go more into it later if we speak about my NIP days, but just the way like how they like. I don't know, it's hard to explain in a way, but I'll go more into details later.
All right, fair enough. Right, another team you played in, this was what I really want to ask about, because I think it's what people will forget, mate, is that before we went online, there weren't that many teams who were actually international squads, and everyone knows Swedish players don't play in bloody international squads, they all stay in Swedish teams. So when you went to that Gamer Legion team, and it was the one where it was like fucking two Belgians, so it was Existence and Scream, then you had HS, that Estonian player, and then you and Awpers, Swedish players are there. It was like, what a weird mix of players. But the bizarre thing was, mate, this wasn't even a bad team. Like, I remember you had that, like, small Mochi LAN you went to where you beat Furia, who, remember, everyone was loving. They just beat Astralis. Like, they were popping off and everything. Like, this team looked like it's a weird mix. I can't understand how these five players get together, but it wasn't bad. So give me some thoughts on this team.
This team. I don't remember too much of the days. I remember that Mochi LAN you spoke about. We had, Scream, insane aim god, as everyone calls a headshot machine. We had Existence, this legendary IGL. Then we had Awpers and we have HS. And it's like you said, it was a weird combination of players. I remember Awpers asked me to join this project after I got benched in Existence Galaxy, because they split the team or whatever.
Right.
So he brought me along to that project, and for me as a young player to join like the names of like Scream, Existence, it was like, wow, like this is cool. And yeah, but definitely we had our ups and downs in that team as well. I remember we had some problems within the team when it came to like the way to work, I would say. When it comes to like in-game stuff, we didn't really agree to everything.
I mean, one thing I would ask immediately that just seems obvious as an outsider is even people who are French who played with Existence tell me he's super strict and he really does he's trying to do like a mastermind playbook, whereas as far as I know, adult Swedish players typically play kind of default CS and then you can let the players decide. Wouldn't that be a bit of a mismatch?
For sure. But I gotta say though, Existence, of the short time, he actually helped me a lot as an Awper, because he brought up Kines in a way, and he knew how to utilize the Awpers, which helped me a lot. Some simple stuff that was not as simple to me back in the day.
Can you give an example, just if you can give like something that give people an idea of what sort of concepts you're talking about?
I can't really go into much detail. I don't remember exactly, but like for example, positioning and stuff, Like that could be like obvious to him, but for me it wasn't really obvious because we was like still a bit young in the role, right? So it's simple stuff as that. But when he said it was like clicked in my head. I was like, oh yeah, that makes a lot of sense. But to be honest, with Existence, he actually tried his best to like do like to mix like the Swedish culture and like so I can't really blame him. It was just that I gotta say, like Awpers saw, he wanted to play it in one way because he was like an IGL as well, and then like. Yeah, I feel like everyone kind of crashed in the end. So it was a lot of roster changes in the Game Legion towards the end.
And like you're saying, it's just some sort of disagreement, because that was the other thing. It didn't seem like there was any like beef in the team, but then bizarrely people did just start getting kicked one by one, I noticed.
Yeah. There was no hard feelings within the team, I'm pretty sure. It was just that the way we wanted to play, I guess, didn't really suit everyone, and then it just happened.
Right. Oh, by the way, wait a second. I think you were lagged for a second. Okay. Since you referenced, obviously, Scream was in this team. It's funny because obviously this is where like stats don't work, because stats only work if you're in the right team, your playing style makes sense. Like, even though people will think Scream was washed at the time, like I've actually seen him even in Valorant. His aim looks fucking sick, mate. Like he really does have like that insane like tracking aim. He can just like it looks like an aimbot, doesn't it?
Yeah, for sure. His aim was still on point when I played with him. He had some insane rounds here and there. Then again, every player has his weakness, right? And maybe his was like getting with the meta in a way, I would say. he's a sick player and he still is. So yeah.
Right, some would say this team is the platform from which you made yourself known, and that's why NIP picked you up. Did you actually feel yourself in this team, like people started to take notice of you?
Yeah, absolutely. Like during the LAN I spoke about before in Nexus Galaxy, I felt like people got their eyes on me. And just when I started playing Game of Legends, a lot of online games and stuff, and I don't know, I feel like I personally always felt better on LAN, and that's something that I always feel like I play better. These online games, I played so many online games in my career, especially all over Game of Legends. NIP with the COVID, I started playing online games, and yeah, I guess I like when I play with Existence, I felt like okay, I'm ready to take the next step. So definitely.
The part I always thought was a bit unfair about your career is, as you say, when you finally got into NIP, was it the big beginning in 2020? So you essentially had I don't know what, 2 LANs or something, and then it was just straight on the internet. And then not only that, we were on the internet for so long that in the time that you were on the internet, obviously device came and replaced you, and you never really got a chance to actually show your skills on LAN, right? I mean, part of the problem I feel like for your role especially is, to me, the difference between people who can AWP online and on LAN is probably the biggest gap in pro Counter-Strike. There's a million even just riflers will pick up the gun online and have a decent game when everyone's on 38 ping or whatever. But on LAN, people choke if they have the AWP. It's hard going to use. Did you feel as though look, obviously later on with the device, what's hard to argue against, but it feels like you never properly got your chance in NIP, right?
I was definitely very unlucky. I played 2 LANs with NIP, right? I think I played Katowice and Blast Premier in London.
Right,
2020.
yes.
And what a lot of people maybe don't remember is that I was actually a rifler in the beginning of NIP as well.
Right.
Because Twist was AWPing.
Oh, yes.
So that was pretty interesting as well. So the 2 LANs I played, which I played pretty good, if I remember correctly, I was a rifler as well. So I would say the COVID hit me hard, especially mentally as well. I was so focused on getting ready to travel the world, play the tournaments. I've always loved playing the LANs, and then this happens, and then you're stuck either on boot camp or playing from home, and which is, so a bit unfair, but it is what it is, right? COVID, what can you do?
Were you just being a good teammate? Wouldn't your preference have been to be the primary AWPer? Were you giving it to Twist because you're a veteran? What was the reason?
No, I was actually called in. I remember I had a meeting with Gunderson or whatever, Jonas Gunderson.
Oh, yes.
And the legend. But and he was just like, we got an AWPer now, so I think you might have to be the rifler in the start of the team. Then in the later stages, we can see what happens. And I was like, of course, why not? If I can join a tier 1 organization, why not, right? I'll take the chance. And I remember I played these lurking roles on Overpass B, and I played Monster on B Overpass, and I remember we did some weird stuff, because I remember I was AWPing on CT side on some maps, okay. But then I was just rifler on T side, which was a bit weird, but it was interesting to say the least.
How would you describe Twist, by the way? Because I think he's another figure that's quite enigmatic in the Swedish scene. Everyone knows all those stories back in the day of he's one of the only players to just repeatedly turn down offers to the old NIP and Fnatic and all these teams. But and also as a player, he seems to just have an all-round game. He could choose to be an AWP like this. I've seen him be mega on rifle. Just seems like an unusual guy. Who was this person to you as a teammate?
It's quite fun actually, because before I joined, I've always heard the stories about Twist being a bit of a bad teammate, maybe to say. He had he was a bit whiny and a bit he wasn't sure about his role, if he wanted to rifle or AWP, or stuff that I've heard from inside CS, right? But then I come into NIP and I play with Twist, and he's the nicest teammate ever. He didn't mind giving up the AWP role. He didn't mind doing anything. He just wanted the best for the team. He was dropping the AKs to the better players, or maybe not better players, who had a better game and all of that, which was quite good. So I love Twist, and as a teammate and as a player, I have nothing bad to say against him.
Right, one of the things I remember, because this team didn't have as many big names, and obviously NIP used to be Get Right and Forest and those giant marquee names, a lot of actually focus on this team was around the coach, because Threat was taking over as the coach again. And so I think people actually saw it as he's got all these young players, perfect, he's going to mould them and put into a system. Can you give me some sense, what was Threat's approach? Was it as super tactical as people think? Was it a structured game? Because also in your team, you obviously didn't have a super experienced in-game leader, so how did it work?
Yeah, definitely. Threat was this super smart coach, kind of a backbone of the team, I would say. We kind of when it came to like finding new strats, finding like new nades, like he was always there finding it, you know, sitting the whole night and the whole morning, just finding new nades, finding new stuff all the time for the team. He was a really important part of the team for sure. And we had some, like with the players we had, I'm going to say we had some really good runs, to be honest. We went to like semis online, quarters online all the time. I remember, I think people always looked at our team and were like, okay, these guys are pretty like weak, right? Like what can they do? But I think Stret helped a lot with the tactical stuff. Then like what most Swedes usually miss is like having like this real captain, right? Stret is not really that authoritarian, whatever you say.
Authoritative or whatever. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, exactly. Not really that kind of voice, which we maybe will lacked, but he definitely got it back in the tactical way.
Because the other thing is as well, I mean, technically you were still there for this period this was also like with your old mate Awpers, where we had this whole thing where I just still don't know to this day, Nork, if it's true or not. Like, does he actually, I think we need to actually sit him down and have like fucking, I don't know, CIA interrogate him or something. Does he actually want to be an in-game leader or not? It seems like he said he does, that he's done it like 1 million times. But then also, it's like as soon as he does it, you may as well set your clock. Like in 3 months, he's going to say he's not doing it anymore. So what's the deal? Like, is he an in-game leader? Does he see the games? Does he want to be one? Do you think, did he in this team?
Yeah, I think he wants it, to be honest. Usually not his decision to go down from the IGL role,
right?
As I know at least. I'm pretty sure. And when I played with him, he was always IGL, right? I'm pretty sure.
I think so. Yes.
Yeah, he was always. And no, I'm pretty sure he wants to be honest. It's mostly not his decision, as far as I know. But maybe I'm wrong.
Who is he as a player and a teammate then? Because the other thing is as well, he has got that like super unique sort of lurking style that he seems really good at. But I always wonder with players like that, that's why it's interesting in the IGL. It's not really usually an IGL's role. You know, you're going to have to com very interesting. So what's he like as a teammate?
Yeah, he's a good teammate for sure. His strength is definitely like mid-run calls. Maybe also, like I said, I touched a bit before, like he's not this captain role, right? He's maybe not as good as setting up the tactics, like watching through anti-strat and stuff, but he really excels in mid-run calls and like lurking on the other side of the map, telling the other players like one by one what they should do and stuff like that, kind of guiding them, which is really good. So yeah, he's a good teammate for sure. Nothing bad.
One of the craziest things to me about the context of how Device later comes in and replaces you is it was right after you guys had a really good result. You did like a run in Pro League where your team was actually looking really promising. And then basically that's the last tournament you play. Like before he got signed, was there any hint at all like the lineup might change or they're unhappy with you? Was everything okay as far as you could tell?
I mean, it's easy to say now in halftime, but I always had a bad feeling, you know, when I went back from after that LAN. Like I also heard some rumors beforehand that something was gonna happen within the team. Even like I thought it was like a troll. I don't remember. Like I got like a message that Device is gonna join or something like that. But I was like, okay, this has gotta be troll, right? But then everything seemed good. We had a good run. I remember we had to drive back from Stockholm because I live in Malmö, right south part. So I drove 6 hours back. Then I wake up in the morning and then I get a message that we want to have a meeting with you. And then I figure out that I'm benched, right?
You actually said it yourself, either on Twitter or Reddit or something, where someone made a joke where they were like, it's like they came to you and they were like, you kicked, and you were like, what the hell? How can I possibly be kicked? Like, you're being replaced by Device. And you were like, it's like that meme of like, well, understandable, you know, have a good day or whatever. Yeah. And your joke was that basically is almost what happened. Like when they told you like it's Device, you can't really argue with that, can you? Like, I mean, the joke is like, even you have to know it probably is a good signing. He's fucking Device, right?
Yeah, but definitely it's like a huge upgrade, right? I was always pretty inconsistent, I would say, back in NIP days. So I could have like those monster games, but I could also be like a real bot, right? So when I knew it was Device, like what can you say? It's just good luck in the future, I guess, and I wish you all the best. Yeah, that's about it. It's not much to say.
What do you think then? Because you said it yourself. Like I always thought that was your problem. Was like you could have games that looked awesome, but then like let's be real. In the modern day, people don't watch all the games; they just go look at the stats. So if the stat goes 1.05 rating, or whatever, they're not going to think you're a star player. And if you say you're an Awper, they're going to go out whatever. Did something change in Apeks? Like the player that I've seen play now and on LAN in the majors that looked awesome. So when did you develop, or when did you get this confidence? It seems like now you've really figured your game out.
I think in NRP I really struggled with, even in my earlier days in the Swedish team, I really struggled with my my temper in a way in game. I could really become frustrated if something didn't go my way, which obviously went down to like a downward spiral, right? It happened a lot in NRP and it happened a lot in previous teams as well, especially Swedish ones for some reason. I don't know why. But then now in Apeks, when Apeks signed me, they knew about my problems, right? They've heard from like NRP and stuff that I had some problems with my frustrations. And ever since then, I've just been working on it like day by day. And I gotta say that's the main reason, right? And like it's as simple as that, to be honest. It's just, I guess it was being a bit childish, right? Because you want to always have like a good game. You want to always be like the best player. You don't want to be like a bad player, and then you bring your teammates down because you're not your perfect teammate. Which, yeah. So I can be honest, I stand by that. I wasn't the best teammate in NLP for sure, which is fair. But now it's just getting better and better. So, which is why my skill is getting better and better, I would say.
Right, give me some thoughts on this whole story that came out. This is well after you were already left NIP, of like where supposedly they just didn't pay you the sticker money. So as far as I know, what happened was people will know the major that was supposed to happen in 2020 was obviously going to be Rio, not the one that did happen in 2022. It was supposed to happen in 2020, and then it got cancelled, but obviously they'd already done like the RMRs and they'd sold all the stickers. And I think they even did something off the top of my head, like kept the sticker running even longer to like allow people to like fund the teams during the online period or some bullshit. Right, and so basically, as far as I know, even though there never was a major for it, these stickers sold a fuck ton at the time and made millions and millions and millions. And then there was some story came out that was basically like NIP just didn't give you your cut, or they claimed it was like supposed to be their money instead of your money or something. Can you give me some thoughts or some info about what went on in this situation from your perspective?
So yeah, as everyone knows, in usual majors, right, there's autograph stickers, which you get yourself, right? It's your money, and then there's team stickers. And during this RMR, this online period of COVID, it was only team stickers,
right,
or team captures or whatever. Which in the contract obviously says that you should have a certain amount, right? And that is basically it. It never got it because they were arguing that something around like. This is to help the organization during COVID to help survive, right? But yeah, I don't know. It's just something they made up. There's no like Valve never said this. It's just they making stuff up, which is sad to see. But it is what it is, I guess.
By the way, since obviously you are Swedish, you're playing well, and everyone does look at teams like NIP and go, why don't they just go Swedish again? There's going to be a million people for the rest of your career just go, why don't you join NIP again? Right? Because of the stuff that's happened, getting replaced, the thing with the do you have any bad blood towards NIP, the org? Is it one way you kind of like, you don't fuck them or whatever? Do you not care? Where are you at on this whole situation?
One thing that a lot of, especially NIP fanboys, doesn't really understand is that I don't have any bad blood for them changing me for device. Like
right.
That is 100% understandable. Like I would have done the same in their shoes. Like that is not the problem. The problem is since they've been scamming me. They scammed a lot of players in the past, and there's definitely some bad blood. Like there is no way I would ever go back to NIP unless they pay back the money they owe me. It's simple as that.
Right, when you were in the Apeks team, can you actually give me some thoughts when you joined this team and what it was like? Because you joined quite early on, like way before all the time period people are going to know of this year and the lineup that they've had now, etc. Like when you first joined the team, I remember it was just known as like it's the team that Jacobs joined, and like there was this rumor like they have money. I think people even implied at the beginning he was going to make like a Norwegian super team or some bullshit like that. It might even have been true, who knows? Right, when you joined this org, obviously at the start the name wasn't as well known, but as far as I know, it's a team that had money in it, had money to pay salaries and could provide boot camps and stuff. So who was this org when you joined them? Did it just come out of nowhere?
Yeah, I got a message in I don't remember, especially October, I think, or something like that. Like that was maybe 4 or 5 months after I've been benched. And for people that don't know, for these 4 or 5 months I was just like playing no CS at all. I was just taking a break from everything that happened. I was like, I'm done with it for now. Let me just do myself, meet some friends that I haven't been able to do in a while. Then it happened, and I flew to their office in Oslo, right? And they showed me around. They told me like what they wanted to do, what the goals was for the lineup and the future, and everything looked good. The offices looked amazing. their plans was good, and we weren't sure about all the players. We just knew that Asilian would be the ideal, I think, and then they were gonna look for more players, right? Because I think I was their second player signing.
Right.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay. Did you get any say in some of the people they picked up? Did the org pick them?
The org picked them.
Right. Okay. Right. Even though like this is just a brief pit stop along the way, it's a bit bizarre that you played with Existence and Scream, and then somehow you played with fucking Shocks as well. Like, I know this wasn't like the greatest period of Shocks. Great. What was that brief period like where he was just in the team?
Yeah. With Shocks, it was a bit. He never fitted in the team, I would say. There was some huge problems. I guess the way we were as both persons and in game didn't fit him at all. Like, I think he felt really unhappy. I think he really is just looking back at that time like a terrible time, which is a bit sad because I mean I still see him as a legend of the game, right?
Sure.
But it just never worked out. He wanted to play one way and everyone else wanted to play another way, which in the end maybe was the better for both of us. That was the part.
One thing I want to ask about was, obviously, I mean, he's now moved on to Ent, but you had Cuban as your coach at one point in time in Apeks. Can you give me some thoughts on working with him? What's interesting or unique about him?
I can easily say that Cuban is the best coach I've ever worked with. He is this smart in-game coach, just like Threat was. But he also has like kind of captain role, that everyone listens to him if he says something. He wants the game played in one way, and that is the only way. Like you're gonna play my way, because I'm the boss here, or whatever. Which I respect. Of course, you won't always agree with everything he says, but that's just the way it is. And if his ways didn't work, then he felt free to listen to feedback, and we could fix some problems. Just a great coach overall. That's the reason. Like he's one of the big reasons we went as far as we did in the major. When we finally like the 5 players with his system, and I think we played some really good Counter-Strike during that time.
In your team, like I said, the player I think actually a lot of people will know the name of is obviously Jacob, who was in Renegades and G2 and a whole bunch of other teams back in the day, FaZe Clan, right? This team for me was sort of been like his renaissance. It's brought him back to being considered a good player and sure he can do it online, etc. Who was this guy been? What's it been like to play with Jacob?
So when I joined the team and I got to know that I was going to play with Jacob, I was like, I wasn't that, like, I know he was pretty good, right? I have never talked with him before. I just heard pretty good stuff about him. But instantly when I got to know him, he was instantly became like my best friend within the team. Super funny guy, super great guy. Just a really good teammate overall. He plays his role to perfection. He doesn't mind dying for the team. He plays his entry role to just the way it's supposed to be, and just an awesome guy in game and outside the game.
Another teammate of yours that I have to say is maybe a bit of like a sleeper. It's got to be Steeko. This is a player where I can just tell you, when I talk to ex-teammates, he's one of their favourite teammates. Like, this is a guy where it sounds like he really will just play like any fucking role in the game that's necessary. Like, even if he knows he's going to bottom frag and get shit. Like, was he like this in Apeks? Yeah,
definitely. He sacrificed everything to make everyone happy, like everyone said. And Martin is also a really, really great guy. Great support player. Great. He watches so many demos. He watches demos for you almost. Like,
right.
He helps me with stuff that I need to learn, like anti-strat. Like, think of this, think of that. It's like he's working for all. It's like the coach. He's helping every player in every way. And his role, if it is perfectly, like, of course, he's never going to have great stats. Of course, he's never going to be like a star player. He might have good games here and there, especially during the major. He popped off. I remember he had some amazing games, especially during like the playoffs. But yeah, he's just a team player. He doesn't care about his own performance. He just wants the team to perform.
Right, people now will obviously know the name JL because he's in fucking Navi. It's an enormous org and he has all this scrutiny around him. But what I don't think people know is, like, first of all, I believe he was even in a past team with Cuban. So I know Cuban always thought he was like a sick player. He just needed a chance there. But the weirdest thing I don't know if people know is I did an interview with Cuban. He even told me this. Supposedly JL himself thought he was an Awper and even applied to the team to be an Awper. And Cuban was like at the time, I think he said, I've got 2 Awpers. I can't. You have to be a rifler. So even though people see now he plays rifle in Navi, as far as I know, he actually does want to be an Awper and thinks like some sick Awper. So who is this guy? And did he ever actually try? Like, did he ever like try to just fucking Awper in this team as well? What was going on?
I never tried to Awper in his team actually. I've heard before that I thought he was like a rifler, then switched to an Awper and a rifler
could
again.
be.
But
Okay.
maybe, yeah. But I never tried to Awper in that team. He was just this is like a really skilled guy individually. Like when it comes to aiming wise, he's so crisp. Like it's almost Scream level, you know. His individual and mechanical skill is so good, and he's also like a grinder. You know, he plays a lot of face hit. He plays a lot of like kind of this new blood. You know, like brings a good vibe to the team, which we needed as well back when we got him. And yeah, Yale. The thing that fit him very very good for us was that we kind of had like the perfect core. You know, we had like Jame and JL as like these aggressive players, and then we had like me a bit more passive with Sticker, right? And then we also had Kixan who was a bit aggressive, which fit, I would say, fit us perfectly because it's usually like they usually won their duels, right? And then if we got into clutch positions, it was either me or Stico, which we won a lot of times as well, which was like the perfect core. Now when I look back at it, I remember when Yale left and went to Navi, we were like, we'll find another player is fine, but when you think about it, it's hard to find another player and change the system again. You know, it's not as easy as everyone thinks.
Right, when it comes to Kixan, I feel like this is a player who really has just gone under the radar. I mean, the first thing I would say to a fan is, if I just showed you his page with his flag and didn't tell you what country, I guarantee almost 99% of people watching this would never, you wouldn't even know if it is a country. You'd just see it and go, what? It's like not a famous country at all in CS. And then this player himself, before your team, I've never heard of this guy. Like, I know he's on that like Blue Jays team, but who the fuck was that team? So all I'll say is this, obviously now he has gone and he's joined Heroic. And mate, I've heard what that fucking buyout is like. I need to know, does this mean behind the scenes, like, I get the vibe based on the buyout of this player. Is he supposed to be like, you know, the guy Shuhei from Gamer Legion? That actually was hype among players of like, oh no, you might be like a mastermind. And is Kixan supposed to be this sort of an in-game leader? It sounds like there's a lot of hype around him.
I mean, there's definitely a deserved hype around him. He's a great caller. I think he fit really well beforehand with the Cuban as well, even though they used to have their tensions a little bit because they didn't agree to everything. But I think they fit really well together, the way they both wanted the game to be played. But then again, maybe like, not to be rude, but like there's a lacking of IGLs right across.
Oh, there is, yeah, sure,
for sure. There are always positives and negatives about each player, right? And
sure.
I think Kixan is definitely a good caller. He might lack a little bit of a leadership, right? Which a lot of maybe young players do, which is something that you can easily fix within a team, right?
It's like you say, you can have the coach do it, right? You can have someone like a Cuban do that role, right?
Exactly. And he's a great caller. He's some of the anti-strat he does as well. It's like kind of insane, you know. He sees a nade and he's like, okay, this is
right.
You're doing this strat, you know, just go here. And we're like, okay, shit, you know, damn. So stuff like that he's really good at. And the finding set strats, he's also like really, really good at like making up stuff, you know, in his head and showing us the next day. And that is his expertise, I would say.
With this era of the major lineup of Apeks, how were you used? Like, do you have freedom, the green light to do whatever you want? If you have the AWP, do they want you in like certain spots? Are you like a trigger for a certain thing? What's it like? Is the team built around Nawwk when he has the AWP?
I wouldn't say it's built around me, but I could usually do whatever I wanted. If they didn't have like a really good call I wanted to do, I could usually do whatever I wanted. But I don't know, Cuban always said that he always wanted a team with no star players, because if you have a team with star players, the star players always get sold, right, in a tier 2 organization. So I wouldn't say we really had any stars, you know. There was one match this guy popped off, one next match this guy popped off, so it was pretty equally formed. But I didn't really have any restrictions as an opera. As an opera, you gotta have some freedom, otherwise you can't really do anything. Otherwise, you become like useless, like the best weapon, and you become useless, which is not ideal. So I could usually do whatever I wanted, but I always in my career, I always prefer to be a bit more passive, right, and try to win these clutch rounds in the end and throw nades. So that's usually what I was doing.
Right, when you were at this major, the last ever CSGO major, Blast Paris, when your team made it to the playoffs, yours was one of the teams actually getting hated on, because if people went, you'd had like the BO1 win over Team Liquid, and aside from that, everyone was like, oh, who cares about these wins? Like, you lost to G2, like, everyone was like, they're just frauds, like, they're going to get exposed. What did you think of your run through this major to that point in time, through the two systems?
Now in afterhand, I would say, like, I think we did a pretty good run, to be honest. Like I said, we won against Liquid. I would say it was pretty, not a stomp, but it was not really that hard of a game. Then after that, I think we played against Greyhound, right? 16-0. Fun game as well. Then we played, was it G2?
Yes.
The 2-0 game, what it was, yeah. And I remember we picked Anubis. We played Anubis really well back then. And I'm going to be honest, in that game, we were not playing our game. It was definitely like the nerves. You're playing against G2, you never played against this tier 1 organization in a while. So it was definitely nerves in that way. And we made it pretty close on Nubis, I think 16-13 or 16-12, I think. And then on their Inferno pick, it was just like, they were too good for us at that time. Then we played against Pain, I remember, which was a close game as well. Also a bit of the nerves, coming in. You want to go to the next stage, but we came out with a win in the end. Which is like, okay, if you look at the teams, maybe it's not the hardest, but it's like, it's a major, right? Like every team is like decent at least.
Sure.
It's not like it's never an easy game in a major, I would say. Then we got into the breach in the legend stage, which was maybe that was a pretty good matchup for us. On Mirage, I remember we had a game under our control. Then we played Heroic. We lost on Mirage again. I don't remember too much about the game. It was not that even. I think they just stomped us, to be honest. Then in the 2-1 game, it was Bad News Eagles. Yeah, on Ancient. And that was like, I remember everyone was like, yeah, Bad News Eagle, we stomped them, they showed them, I think they won against G2 on Ancient the day before. Right. Then we picked it and they had no chance. We sure they are aim gods, but I think tactically we were way better and like playing our roles. Then we had Game of Legion, and we came into this Game of Legion game. I remember like, damn, what a dream to be on the stage. We get Game of Legion in the 2-1 game. This is it. We're gonna make it, and then it just collapsed all of it. It's a sad day, to be honest. We were so sure we were gonna win, but then after the game we're like, damn, what did we do? This was our chance. Now we can play against. I think it was like FaZe we could play Na'Vi, we could play all the teams, and then I see that we get NFP, and we're just like, okay, this is the redemption. This is time. Now it's time to beat them, which kind of got some spark back, at least for me. Like now it's the dream position to knock them out of the major, which was like this is it. If there's ever gonna be some revenge, this is it, and we did it.
I mean, for the storyline, you have both sides, right? You get to both go to the quarters if you win this game and knock an IP out. Like it's a dream for you, right? Yeah,
for sure. I said it before, like, okay, guys, we gotta do this. You gotta do this for me. This is right. It. We gotta. we can't lose against an appear. That is impossible. And they were like, sure. And I remember the game went past so fast, like in my mind. Like when you're sitting there in the server, like it just after the game we sit there, damn, that went by fast. But we crawled our way back in every game. Like the Vertigo game, they were up by a lot. I remember. Yep. Won in overtime. Then on the Ancient, they were like, I think after the Vertigo, we're just like, okay, sure, like we're gonna win this now. Like the Vertigo, we can't play it. We barely can play it, and we won it, so this is gonna be easy. And then they're up like, what was the score? Like 14-3 or something. Like
it was big,
It was an insane comeback, and it's easy to say, but we never really felt. Like it's easy to crumble in that situation, right? Especially as like an underdog, right? Yeah. To be like, oh no, map 3, but we always felt secure in Ancient. Everyone loved Ancient in team, and we just played our roles. And after we won like 3-4 rounds, we're like, okay, guys, we're gonna make this comeback because these guys are so scared now all of a sudden, like for some reason they're so scared. They played pretty well in the beginning, but now they're just so passive, they're not playing their game, so let's play our game and we'll win.
Right, in the playoffs, here's what's funny. Even though you actually had already played Team Liquid in the BO1 and beaten them, and it's not like Team Liquid looked that great in the major. Like, they'd had kind of a bit of a dodgy run, and they even had games. I remember the game against Fluxo. They almost got beaten in a best of 3 by like fucking nobody's, basically. So actually, it's funny because I remember, I feel like a lot of analysts just defaulted to like Team Liquid to win this game because of, like, experience, whatever, the Swiss systems, all top teams are scared and the underdogs are getting a boost, etc. But in this game, if you actually go and watch it, it's a pretty convincing win for your team. Like, you guys kind of actually just, like, I think you're just ahead of them most of the game. Like, they never really get into it. What did you think happened? Did you expect them to be better in this match?
Yeah, we definitely expected them to switch out the stuff. I remember it to this day that on Ancient, we were like pretty certain we win. We felt like Ancient was our comfort map. We were like, they're not that good at it either. And we watched some stuff, and I remember Kyksan and Kuban, I think it was, that put up some kind of like it was called like anti-nitro on B side. It was like this anti-play, and if you saw this nade coming, then you would just rush up B because he was alone B nitro, and you just kill him instantly. And I think we did it like 2-3 times during the game, and and after that confidence on the first map, I think it's hard for them to come back. We're in the driver's seat now, and I don't know. I felt like the nerves never really came on stage, at least not for me, and I couldn't really feel it in the TeamSpeak as well. I feel like we were all so focused on winning the game that we never focused on the crowd. There was a huge crowd in Paris. It was crazy playing there, but I felt like we were in the driver's seat all the time. It was a bit spooky on like overpass the last half on T side. They kind of came back, and then I won this 1v3 clutch, and after that, the game was sealed, I would say. But I think we just played way better Counter-Strike than they did. We perfected our strategies and our defaults, which worked out.
That's another thing I want to ask about. Is it's not like all Awpers, like being clutch is automatically a thing. Like it's not like a super strong correlation in the rules. Maybe like lurker or supports normally knows the clutch player. At this major, it seemed like you won a whole bunch though. You just didn't have any fear in these scenarios. What was going on? I mean, you're quite an experienced player on land still, right?
No, I don't know. Like, it's just something that clicks in my head, when a clutch comes in. Everyone always asks me, how do you clutch? And I don't really know, It's just something that clicks while you're in the clutch, in your head, You're like, okay, I gotta do this to do this. And it just went extra well during the major. I guess I got a bit of a confidence boost because I won so many clutches as well, right? That when you're in the clutch, you're like, okay, I can easily win this. And since CS is all about a confidence game, it just worked out in my favor.
The other thing that's crazy to me is in this match in the semi-final against Vitality, like you guys actually have every excuse to just like get nervous in this match. Like Vitality was number 1 team in the world. They have Z, who's like the best player in the world. They've just won the tournament before. They're on fucking home soil. By the way, everyone's looking at the bracket like, right, they're in the final. They're going to win. Like every factor in theory should go against you guys. But actually, I thought you guys played great in this game. It was a really competitive match, actually.
Definitely. We had a chance to win at least our pick on the rush, I would say. There was some a classic game of nerves, I would say. They lost some critical rounds they should never lose, and we lost some critical rounds. I still remember this like pistol round on the A side. They did like an A execute or whatever, and they killed Stick on A instantly, and then like everything just fell apart. And it still haunts me in my head in a bit, that round, because otherwise, I feel like we could have easily won that map. Then God who knows what happened on the third map. But yeah, it was definitely possible. Like if you look at the, and I remember watching the game after and the analyst saying like, yeah, it felt like Vitality was just in the driver's seat all along. The Apeks really had no chance. It just closer than it looks, and right. I was just like, damn, I wouldn't really say that, Like
no, I can tell you, I know the players on Vitality don't think that, mate. They know this was like a game that almost got out of control.
Yeah. No, so. It was probably a great game to watch at least, but in the end they got the major they deserve, right? So at least I'm happy they won.
Seemed like in this game, look, it wasn't as great as the Liquid one, but you had your moments in this series. Like I remember on the second map, Vertigo, actually, like on CT side, you were doing really awesome. Like you were keeping them down. It looked like there was a chance, like you say, to go to a third map. Did you think you individually performed well?
Yeah, I think I did. I think, like I said, especially on Vertigo. I think when I came in on Vertigo, like, okay, so this is this is like our worst map by far. If we play like okayish on it, and I was just like, I'm just gonna take like some of the biggest risk ever, because why not? Like this might be the last game of the stage, so I just took some bigger risks than usual, and it kind of paid off. And I think I played good. I think I had some clutches in that game as well. I can't remember exactly.
I think so. I think on Vertigo, at least I know you won 1-2.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and no, I like during that the whole playoff stage at least I played pretty good. I would say definitely both Liquid and Vitality. But yeah, what can I say? It didn't really matter in the end, but this is good to have a good individual showing, I guess.
Thing is, if people think about the narrative of this interview that you had, like when you finally were going to get your chance in NIP, then we went online, then you get replaced by basically like one of like the sort of 2 or 3 people in the whole world that's just an obvious slam dunk signing. You had this bullshit where the Apeks lineup took a while to get going. When you finally have like a major like this where you perform, you're one of the better players in the whole tournament, like you're actually beating top teams. You go to, was it validating? Did you feel like people get who I am now, like they know I'm good?
Yeah, I would say so. Like, I feel like I was always a bit underrated in some ways, especially in Apeks. Like of course you only played online games, so it's pretty hard to rate someone that's only playing online games. But I think during my time in Apeks, I was played well, like much better than in my NRP days at least. And it felt great to actually be able to show, like I still got it in me. It was I came back from this NRP fiasco, and now I'm here on stage and I'm playing like good Counter-Strike versus some of the top teams, which was a great feeling afterhand. And I remember I was just so exhausted after these 2 days in the arena, which was so mind-blowing, that I still could do this, because of course there was some doubt after the NRP days, like is it really worth to continue? Like is CS really that fun, after being in that organization? And then when you sit there after those 2 days, you're like, damn, it was worth it. It was worth to continue. After all this grinding online in Apeks, it was so worth it. And I'm so happy that they made that choice.
How do you personally find CS2? Because I know in the beginning, part of it, to be fair, was like the graphic desync was crazy. Like I know early on, a lot of the Awpers actually complained or they didn't like it. Like, how do you find CS2 as an Awper?
I think I'm one of the few players that actually love the game. I played CSGO for like 10 years, right? Almost. And now when there's a new game, like kind of new mechanics and all of it, it's so fun with me. It's something fresh, Like I've always liked when there's something new coming in, a new gun or a new, new economics in the game. And like when I got the chance to play CS2 now, when it's like everything is new and it's kind of like a reset, like not a full reset, but it's like, all of the players is kind of struggling. I was just loving it, like playing a lot, playing way more than I did before. And I don't know, like this is your work, right? You gotta love what you're doing, otherwise you won't be good, I feel like. And there's a lot of people whining, right? But what's the point of whining? Because this game is gonna stay, so might as well play it and become better.
What were your thoughts on this Elisa Masters SPU run, where if people don't know, I know the name of the tournament isn't huge, but this was a way better version than all the past Elisa Masters. Like, if you just go look at the teams playing, some of the like actual best teams in the world were at this tournament. So what did you think of this finals run?
This was a great tournament, and it was just after we got our new sports psychologist, Mia. She helped Astralis back in the day.
The Finnish woman who used to work with ENCE as well,
exactly.
Right? Yeah, okay.
Exactly, yeah. So we just got her. She was with us the entire tournament, and I can say that it helped everyone in the team.
Right.
We had some 1v1s, we had some team meetings, and I think like what our team needed was that sports psychologist for so long. Like it's always been like this frustrations within the team that kind of need to be fixed, which she maybe not fixed, but she helped a lot. And I think that's one of the main reasons it went as well. Of course, I had a great showing as well. And I think coming into Elisa, I think no one expected us to like get out of groups. To be honest, we had a pretty hard group. We had Mouse, Furia, and Complexity. Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, and we were like, okay. I mean, step one, get out of groups. That was our plan. Then we beat Mouse in the best of one. Damn, that's pretty good. Then we had Furia in the best of 3. We smashed them as well. And we're like, okay, we're set now. We made it out of groups, guys. Let's just make the best out of it and have some fun. And then we had ends, which was of course not the best ends performance because everything happened behind the scenes, right? But oh well, still pretty convincingly win 2-0. And then we have like this best of 5 and we're coming in, and I think everyone kind of expect us to win at all, after like beating Furia so heavily before.
Sure.
And then everything just crunches. Like you can tell it's, we have like the new guys then, first final, everyone, it's been a while since they were in the final, right? And everything just like goes to shit, to be honest. That was our final to win, I feel like still. But yeah, you gotta perform on the day to win the finals, which we didn't, so it is what it is.
Right, as much as if you're an individual player, obviously you want to fucking win the tournament. That's the game in the team game.
Yeah.
If you can get MVP and you're on the losing team, that's a pretty good compliment. I mean, you did do well in this final. You were great this whole tournament. Like, as much as you didn't win, like, was it satisfying to win the MVP? Did it feel like you sort of, was your performance worthy of it?
I would say so. I played my heart at this event. It felt really good. Of course, it kind of sucked right after the final. I think the photo I looked pretty sad, which I am. But then after a while, it kind of kicks in. Like, damn, I actually won like an HLTV MVP, right? That's pretty good. That's a step in the right direction. So of course, I would rather win the trophy. I think everyone wants that, but definitely a step in the right direction. And I'm happy for being able to play that well to get one.
Is it surreal to be in like a LAN final open against Fallen?
I guess a little bit. It feels like it's 2016 again, maybe. But
by the way, are you at the phase already where you just don't care about that? Is there ever though? Do you ever get these moments where like I'm on the stage like a fucking a major in the semi, or I'm playing with like a legendary player, or some guys joining our team like shocks? Does it ever get to you at all? Still, does ever that moment of like, the fuck, it's kind of crazy?
I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't say, not anymore. Maybe in my early NIP days, I remember in Katowice, I thought it was, and then I had to play like a knockout game or whatever versus Navi, and then you play the first time versus Simple, and you're like, okay, shit, like this is the real deal, And
Sure.
of course, it went to shit as well. Like we just got stomped, and I got so outplayed. But after that, when you play, almost every day against, like in NIP days online, you kind of get numb to it, I would say. So not really. Like, it's cool that Fallen is still performing and doing as well as he does, right? But I'm not really thinking of it.
And then obviously you just went, this is the downside for you guys, is I noticed the ESL Challenger events are nearly always when there's like another bigger event. And so everyone watches that one and they don't even know that, like, spoiler, like Virtus.pro's a really good team. There are all these ESL Challenger events, guys. If you ever go and look, it's actually pretty good. It's like some tier 1, some tier 1.5, and like maybe the odd tier 2 team. So when you went to this Atlanta one, which is the one won by VP, dude, the run here looks fucking epic. Again, like, you're in another group with complexity. A lot of people think this is like the top team. Game Allegiance is not exactly a slouch. They're a pretty decent squad. Monty, the team you played in the semis, actually has been looking fucking awesome the last like 3 to 4 months. It looked really good even still. And then losing to Virtus.pro and Land's not exactly like a fucking diss. Like, they're a really good team. So what did you think of this run?
This was one of the events where we kind of knew that Quicksand was gone, right? It was just like... we just went in with like our heads high, and we're like, okay, let's just play to play. We didn't really have any preparations before the event. We were just like, okay, let's play like we did before in the lights and just see how it goes, right? Because we're taking farewell of our IGL anyway, so it doesn't really matter that much to prac before the end of the season anyways. And yeah, what can I say? I don't remember the game. Oh yeah, Game of Legion, true. That was a close game. We had it in our hands all the time. But the run overall, though, like, it was pretty good, I would say. Like, this Monte one, I don't know if a lot of people saw it, but like we had an insane comeback once again on Ancient. I think they were up like 9-1 or something. And we came back on the third map and we won it all, which was pretty cool. And then like 40 minutes later, you're gonna play VP, and you're like, oh shit, like kind of exhausted after that one, after like a 3-hour best of 3. And I don't know, VP was the way better team in that one. Like, we didn't really have a chance at all, to be honest. It's also one of the teams that I've always struggled playing against because they're so slow, like they're never moving. It's you're sitting there like waiting for them to come, and you gotta break their plans, but they're always ready for everything, it feels like. And yeah, I mean, they were the way better team for sure. But one more final appearance is not too bad, so we will take it.
Right, I've often heard from people who are friends of mine who are pros. Like, I know fans complain about VP because they think they're boring. I can tell you loads of pro players complain, but they don't complain in the sense that, like, look, if it works and he wins, they sort of begrudgingly respect it. But they always tell me, like, what you're describing. They always say the stupid thing is, you know, before the game, like, what you shouldn't do. It's like, right, you know, they're going to play super slow and James going to fucking say it. You know, all these things going in, but they say when you're in the game, it's just so irritating and it's so annoying how long they're taking and run up. That it just makes you do stupid mistakes, or you try and make a play, or like somehow they tell me like it's like even though you think you know how you should play, it's hard to do in the actual match against them. Would you agree?
Yeah, definitely. VP is one of those teams. Kind of all of all the CIS teams is like the top CIS teams is kind of that way. VP is like the extreme variant, right? Like saving all the time, always so slow, and if you push, they'll just hold and kill you, and you gotta find like the perfect timing to break the plan, like when they're going for like an execute or something. And it's a hard team to play against. And like when it came to that game, we knew it was gonna be a hard game. We like even before the Monte game, we're like, this is also a good opponent. Let's just do our best. And I think we kind of ran out of fuel, to be honest, as well against VP when nothing went in our way. I remember Ancient, there was some close rounds, but they just won every clutch, and it was just like, yeah, this is not winnable today, sadly.
Is it as ridiculous as it looks from the outside playing against Jame? Because like my joke is, you know, at the end of the year when they would do HLTV Top 20, and that channel called Snipe to Die just gets all the best highlights and puts them all together. So like if you watch like the simple one, it's insane, or the Nico one. My joke is like the Jame one should just be a guy hitting a bunch of off-angle shots and then moving to the next off-angle. It's like, it feels like if you play against him, it must be the most annoying bloody Awper, CT Awper of all time. Is it true?
Yeah, he's definitely one of the best CT Awpers of all time for sure. He knows what angles he's holding. He's always safe. You know, he takes a shot and he leaves, and he knows what he's doing on the CT side for sure. And on the T side, it's more of his right foot working right and him clutching or saving, which is their play style, which I gotta respect. You know, and they win events due to it. And he seems like a really smart guy. And yeah.
Sure. Right. Since I asked about the major line, give me some thoughts of the newer players. Who this Kakanito guy and Sense? Who are these players?
Yeah, so after we lost Yale, right, we needed a new player, and Kyksan already played with Sassanito, right? And they were good friends, and we got him in because he was a skill player. A lot of people wanted him. Then we had a little bit of a struggle in the beginning due to the roles, right? Because what we noticed after getting him was that he played a lot of the same roles as Yekim, and there was some problems there that they were trying to. In the beginning, they tried to be nice to each other, you know, and like, you do this, and I'll take these roles, and I can go do this shit roles, and here and there. But in the end, like it's kind of like we're joking about it with Yekim. It's like you can't teach an old dog how to sit, right? You have
Sure.
to let him play his roles, and Stasa went more into this like bit of a lurking positions, I would say, which has been doing good, performing really good recently. But we were struggling in the beginning, in Cologne especially. And then now Sense, when the organization benched Zico, we got Sense right, and he had to go full anchor mode and support roles on the T side, which has been progressing hard for him as well in the beginning, because that was not his. It was the IGL in the academy team, if people didn't know, and so he played mostly like this default positions right in the middle of the map, and so he had to switch everything up. It was hard for him in the beginning, but as a young player, you can easily like learn his roles, I feel like, for sure. So he's been doing better and better, and it's better each day.
Right, obviously, as of the time of this interview being recorded, we don't actually know what the lineup officially is or what the future Apeks style will be, because obviously the in-game leader is quite a key position. Right, all I'll just ask is this, as an open-ended question. Obviously, people will hope, it's like you said earlier about the Cuban thing, people look at these teams, Gamer Legion, Apeks, I'd even say Ent still gets this from the top teams, and people think if anyone's actually good, they're going to get recruited by someone else, and so the problem between these teams is you have to find the next person who can do that role and get you back to the top level. So essentially the question is, at the moment we can't know who it is, but there is life after Kixon in Apeks, right? It's not just over because Kixon left.
No, there's definitely life. It's kind of crazy, like how it's only me and Jakim left, right, from the original lineup, and We have so many ups and downs with this lineup, and we've learned so much across the way. I've learned so much more here in Apeks than I did in NIP, for example, which many people probably don't think. But there is definitely life after. I'll tell you that much. There is Apeks is not going anywhere soon.
What about who does nawwk see himself as now? Like, do you think, like, put it this way, this year, look, he didn't even go to enough lands, it wouldn't be possible. But like next year, for example, nawwk could be a HLTV top 20 player at the end of 2024. Is it plausible? Do you see that?
I see it happening if I continue my form now in CS2 that I have been performing at, definitely. And we just have to qualify to the lands, right? And do some good runs, which we played a lot of lands this year, but we didn't really have any playoff appearances at all. I think it was just a major, and now Eliza and Atlanta, which is not the biggest event, but it's something. So yeah, definitely, I would say, like I have high hopes for myself, and I'm always reaching high. So let's hope for the best.
Right, being as you currently aren't in the Swedish scene, I'll just ask you, because it's one of the big topics, I feel like, for Swedish Counter-Strike, which is, what do you think of what this current state of Swedish Counter-Strike is? There isn't really a top team. There's basically the Eyeballers team, and then a bunch of just Swedish players in the top tier 1 internationals teams. What do you think about the fact there isn't like a top, there isn't like a top 15 team that's all Swedish? The Swedish, some people think it's died out a bit. What is your take? What current state of the Swedish CS scene, in your opinion?
I think this last couple of 2-3 years has been pretty grim for CS, Swedish CS especially. But now there's a lot of these old Godsends, right? That were coming up. We have Medisport, we have Eyeballers, we also have Godsend, right? And I think you can definitely make a good Swedish team in the near future. Maybe not quite yet, but there is definitely hopes in the Swedish scene right now. Before a year ago, I was like, okay, this is what is happening to Swedish Counter-Strike. How did it go so bad? But there's definitely hope, and I think if you put together all of the players from all the teams, you could probably make a pretty decent Swedish team as well. Right now, but it's obviously hard with all the contracts and all of this, right? But there's a lot of upcoming people as well. We have Nilo, for example. I think it's the next Swedish big thing, right?
Okay.
And I've been performing really well now first in Young Ninjas and now in Medisport. He has an insane rating and been playing really good. And then we have also Redemption Arcs. I feel like Plopsky, I watched some games. He's been playing really good again. Maybe he finds his way back like I did. So I don't know. I personally have high hopes for the Swedish scene, and I hope we can be back in maybe 1 year or something and have something good on the table.
Right, at the end of this interview, do you have a final message? Do you want to thank anyone or say hello to anyone?
No, just thank all the fans for cheering for Apeks, even though we lose a lot of players all the time, guys. But keep cheering for us and we'll perform. And also my family, friends, girlfriend, thank you for always supporting. And yeah.
Yeah, tack så mycket.
Tack så mycket.
When I make content, it isn't just me, the mic, and a guest or a topic. It's also me with the support of my whole crew. Who's that, you might ask? The Skrilluminati. That's who. They include Frisky, Matt Pugnatio Rajcula, Ahmed Hadjou, Tosh, Tobias Bernasconi, Jensen Goh, Animosity, Thooorin, and you know it if you've heard it before, but if you haven't, a special thanks goes out to my main man, Jerky's Minion. Well, if you want to know upcoming topics and guests I'm going to have on my channel, maybe you want to ask me a question to answer in an AMA in video fashion. Do you want to hear one of those long discussions and actually be part of it and be able to ask me questions? Want to find out who I'm going to interview next? If any of these perks or more appeal to you, put your money where your mouth is. Join the Skrilluminati today via the Patreon link in the description box below.